Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. It is actually misting a bit outside right now and it's only going to be in the 20s today, but I thought I would come out and try to get some of my hellebores cleaned up because they really are not looking that great right now. So I need to get the old foliage cleaned up around the outside and make room for these new blooms that are starting to come up. If you are a new subscriber, my name is Soleil and I garden in Zone 5B in mid-Michigan, and it is definitely still winter here even though we're coming up on spring. All right, let's go get started. So it is super wet outside here today, but as you can see, my hellebores are starting to look a little worse for the wear. I have some really beautiful ones that were, just plain white that have now turned pink and are simply gorgeous. I don't think anything has been out here pollinating them, but I could totally be wrong about that. You just never know. I definitely have seen some insects so far this year. Isn't that a gorgeous one right there? Wow, so pretty. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try to avoid stepping on any parts of this bed, but I have this nice rock path along the back that we're going to try to access some of them from. And then there are some stepping stones that are in this bed, which are a little bit hard to see because of the leaves, but I can use those as well. Now this one right here in the front, let's get after that one first because that's really easy to access. And I'm just going to cut these old leaves all the way down to the base of the plant. And you can see these new buds are coming up, which are very beautiful and light colored, almost a sunny yellow. And this is the one that I keep saying every spring, I'm going to divide this. And I'm going to say it again this year. And hopefully it will come true this year because I really want more of this. It's super stunner. So some of the stems are way down underneath some of these leaves here, so we'll just try to unbury them all as we go. Now, a lot of people will not actually put these onto their compost piles. I do, but only because I have huge compost piles and I do cold composting, so it has to sit there for a really long time to be able to break down, and these take a really long time to break down. And I figure after the year or two that they have been sitting in the compost that they are not going to cause like any disease problems or anything like that. But it's not something that I would recommend for short-term composting for sure. This is going to be such a beautiful one. Keep thinking I've got all the leaves and then I find another one buried. All right, and I get a lot of questions from people about whether I leave my leaves on the bed or if I clean them up before I mulch. And the answer to that is I leave them on the bed. Now, if they aren't all the way broken down, sometimes I come through and do a little bit of cultivation. And what I mean by that is I basically just come in with a rake and kind of stir it up a bit, if that makes any sense. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort at all, and it doesn't take much time. And I usually only do that if it seems like it's a little bit too deep and really not breaking up well. You can see this one's just starting to put out some of its new growth. And I want to be careful to not cut those off when I'm cutting off these leaves. So it is important to really kind of clear things away as you go. Here's a brand new flower that's coming up. Another one right here. Some of the old leaf stems are right in and among it. The other thing I'm going to do this year is come through, and you can see I have lots of little babies, and I want to separate those a little bit more and grow them on in some pots so that I can get them to the point where they're able to flower. Those are a couple years old, and it usually takes about 3 years to get a hellebore seedling to enough maturity to be able to bloom. Now I'm wearing my favorite insulated gloves today. I would not do this with just regular garden gloves. My favorite part about these is that they are coated in a nice rubber kind of coating, which helps to prevent from the moisture, because in the spring and the fall when you're out here and it's cold, moisture is the enemy. It definitely will make you much colder than if you dry. And I'm just setting all the clippings aside, and I'll come back through and pick those all up to take to the compost pile later. Let's see what we got underneath here. There we go. Now we can see better. You can see we've got several blooms down here, and this one was a division last year, so I'm excited to see that that one's going to be blooming. I'm pretty sure I have a stepping stone right over here. Nope. Here it is. Alright, let's see what's under these leaves. This should be where the new growth is. Yep, here's a whole bunch of new flowers coming up. And I'm just gonna leave these leaves over them because we have such cold weather right now. And I'll come back out after that cold weather snap. I don't want to take those leaves off right before it gets down in the teens here overnight. I wonder how many of you also use gardening as kind of your main form of physical activity, or if you also go to the gym or do something else. This is definitely my main form of physical activity, although I still am doing a lot of exercises every day for my knee. All right, that looks really good. Let's get this one over here now. So when I talk about stirring up with the rake, all I'm really doing is just kind of, I go through and I fluff it like this, and it just kind of opens up new areas for all those little soil microbes to come through and get the leaves. You can see here we have some wonderful, that's probably some mycorrhizae fungi right there, breaking down the wood and making it available to the plant roots. So all great. Okay, so these are looking really pretty now. Got a couple more to go down here. Almost cut off a bloom there. These are all blooms that are under these leaves that are protecting them. Hellebores are some of the most amazing, tough little flowers. I was first introduced to hellebores by a neighbor that worked at a nursery, and many of these are actually from her. I think she gave me like one or two, and it was about 10 years ago, and I've just continued to propagate them over time. I did buy a couple from a nursery after I got the ones from her, which are those ones that bloom pure white. And there are so many different kinds of hellebores too, so check it out. The foliage can look entirely different. So you can see right now, there's a nice pile of leaves right here. I'm just kind of stirring it up a little bit with my hands. This foliage is definitely looking ratty on this one. All right, those are nice and still kind of buried under some of these fluffy leaves, so we'll leave it like that. And let's get to this stepping stone over here and clean up this hellebore. Ooh, I see some rabbit poo right there. Fertilizer. Now you can see this bud somehow got broken, so that one's not going to bloom. I'm just going to snip that one off. And this is a division from last year, so it only looks like it has one bloom coming on this year, but it's always exciting when you start to get the first bloom on a hellebore division, just because they take so long to mature. Look at that, so pretty. All right, let's take a look here. Yeah, that definitely looks a whole lot better. I'm not going to clean up the foliage on this one until it looks a little bit rattier, because for some reason that particular variety, the leaves look so much better over the winter. They just come out still looking pretty fresh. So we've cleaned up quite a bit. I think we'll take off this last one right here. And I don't know, but it might be putting out a bud way down deep in there, which would be cool. These are the ones I planted last year. This is the Maid of Honor hellebore. And I planted another one right here that is looking definitely a lot worse for the wear, but it does have some fresh new growth down at the base, so that's good. So we'll just clip off these spent leaves. And this one right here also looks like it has a couple of leaves on it that could be trimmed off. Yeah, there, that's better. It's looking pretty good. So you can see here's all those nice little baby seedlings that I have, and this one probably has about 4 in a clump. I did plant one over here in front of this spirea last year, and it is definitely looking like it's maturing. So maybe next year I'll get some blooms on that guy. All right, well, that takes care of that business. It was a bit of quick work, didn't take very long at all, and they definitely look nice and fresh and ready for showing off their blooms. Thanks again for joining me today. You guys are great, and we'll see you next time.